Catalina's story is all about courage, resilience, and social justice. She grew up in Colombia, worked with women affected by armed conflict, and then made the bold decision to move across the ocean to study psychology in Poland. Along the way, she faced cultural shocks, language barriers, and financial struggles, but also found support through the Student Support Fund, which opened new doors for her research and community work. Today, she's not just a student, but a researcher, a volunteer, and someone building bridges between cultures. Catalina, welcome. Let's dive into your inspiring journey.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So first, I just wanted to start with asking you a little bit about your background. If you could tell me what was your childhood like in Colombia?
Absolutely. Well, I was born in Bogota, the capital city of Colombia.
Right?
And I guess that, it was with ups and downs, lots of learning experiences, lots of love, but then also a lot of role models in my life and a lot of stories of resilience as well, of hard work. I think that I really grew up in an environment in which hard work was always encouraged, and I was seeing so many role models around me, my mother, my grandparents, my father. So I think that I always had this, like in my genes, let's say. And then also valuing a lot education. I grew up with my parents telling me that the only responsibility I had was of my education when I was a kid. They were taking care of everything. And I grew up with that. And I really think that it impacted me today as well.
So how did it happen that you decided to go into psychology? Because I understand education was very important to you, but what pushed you towards psychology?
Well, I guess that I had a lot of experiences in which I faced a lot of social injustice, a lot of emotional distress, a lot of, let's say, difficulties that for me, psychology just had all the answers. So for me, psychology is such a fascinating discipline, really. I love to read about psychology, to watch documentaries, these psychological movies, and I always enjoyed a lot of psychology. And then I just feel that you can work in so many fields and help to so many people in so many ways. So I really feel so passionate about my career. And then, as I told you, I also had this specific moments in my life since I was very young in which I, let's say, met different people from different social groups. And I just saw that there was so much to do. And for me, psychology was this discipline that it was not only interesting to me, but would also give me all the tools to do something. So that's how I started my path.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So was there maybe a specific moment? Because I understand you've always been passionate about psychology, but was there a specific moment when you were like, this is for me?
Well, I guess that there was maybe two moments. The first one was I was like 15 years old. In my school, well, I had the blessing, but also the sacrifice of my parents to have me in a very good school in Colombia. Speaking English is not something that you see very often. So the fact that I speak English, it was really because of my parents. They really made a lot of sacrifices to have me in a very good school. And this school coordinated with other foundations, different social work activities. And in one of those, I was 15 years old, and I was sharing with some kids belonging to families of very low income, let's say, group. And I just saw this lack of resources that they received from the people responsible to provide them of these resources, meaning clothing, education, even food. And then I saw that the people working with them were mostly psychologists. So
Right.
I was like, okay, I see that psychologists in that moment, I saw them so engaged into this type of activities. And then, well, of course, when you start exploring other careers and so on, actually, I was very interested in medicine as well. But at the end, after checking all the syllabus, all the program, going to the universities, participating from these workshops that usually universities organize, psychology was the one.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So now when you think about Colombia and Poland, if you could tell me what feels most similar and what are the big differences that you feel?
Well, the most similar, I think that the willingness of people to help. To be honest, my experience in Poland has been very beautiful, has been very challenging. I would have never imagined how challenging it was going to be because of these cultural shocks, because of so many differences. There are many that you imagine, but there are so many more that you never thought about. That I will speak about that in a moment. But finishing with the similarities, I think that the willingness of people to help here, everyone has been so open and so helpful and so kind every time that I needed some help, either with Polish or in a shop or with this residence and visa things that many of us international students have to deal with. So yeah, I would say that in Colombia, this is also something that characterizes people in my country, and is that I would say we also always have this openness to help and this smile receiving everyone. So that would be a similarity. And the differences, I mean, we can stay here talking for hours, but I think that, well, the language, definitely. Language, I think that was one of my, let's say, biggest emotional challenges in terms of the lack of independence that I felt when I arrived here. So I was very used to be so independent in Colombia, and then coming here and not knowing how to manage these machines in Carrefour or Żabka, and then learning how to say all the vegetables in Polish in order to finally be able to buy something. Just so many little things. And also everything that is linked to the seasons. So coming from Latin America, I have been living in spring all my life. And then I come here and I find that there are other 3 seasons that I only got to know in the books before. And now I experience it on my own. And well, there's so many things that are linked to those. For instance, the vitamin D levels that go to the floor. I literally had a deficit of vitamin D levels. Also the food, also the clothing. I had to basically buy a whole new wardrobe because I, was not prepared for such a thing. So all related to this, I would say.
Then why Poland? Why not the US or Spain? Why Poland?
Well, I would say 3 main reasons. The first one is I always dreamt about studying abroad. I always dreamt about having this international academic experience. And one of the things that motivated me the most was to really open my mind in terms of perspective of the world, in terms of cultural backgrounds, languages, and that's really how I imagine it. And in United States and Spain, United States is still America, so of course we have some important differences, but there are also a lot of Latin people there, as well as in Spain. So with Spain, we share the language. With Latin America, we share the continent. And anyways, there are a lot of Latin people in both places. So it was just going to be such a big temptation to just go with my people of Latin America. And I think that I would have limited this growth. And then coming here to Poland, to such a different country, indeed, I would say 99% of my friends are entirely from complete different nationalities. So I would say 50% of the growth that I have had studying the master here has been because of this richness of people and culture. So that's why. And another reason that I mentioned before is because I really admire a lot the Polish history, to be honest. As I told you before, I grew up with these examples of resilience. And I mean, Poland is, resilient in a way that, is undescribable. So I admire a lot that Polish spirit. So that was also another thing that influenced in my decision.
Okay. So it seems like it was a very carefully planned move. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. When did you start thinking about it?
I would say I started preparing myself to to study abroad 3 years before I actually made it. So, of course, coming here is very expensive. It's not only the university that you need to pay, it's also the tickets, the visa-related costs, all the money that you need to show to the embassy that you have in order to survive here. In my case, even though my parents would have loved to help me, they couldn't. So I was on my own, let's say, financially trying to reach this goal. And then I planned it like for 3 years. I was not sure that it was going to be Poland. I was exploring, as you said, it was really a very careful decision. So I was exploring other countries. And then I found SWPS, that is just, the program for me. I am finishing right now my master in clinical psychology. So the program, I really reviewed a lot of programs of clinical psychology in other countries. And this one was just eye-catching to me. It was very, very well planned. It had everything that I wanted. So yeah, then really things just started happening in such a way that it was, very smooth. So yeah, that's how it happened.
Got it. Thanks. So how did you find out about the Student Support Fund? Because from what I know, that could have been a big help, right, in your situation.
I would say that big is not enough, to be honest. It was very funny because actually I found out about this scholarship through the virtual university. I never honestly entered to the virtual university to check like events and so on, because most of them are in Polish. So, I kind of just entered to grades, knowledge base, payments, like it's very automatic. But it just popped up this, let's say, announcement of the enrollment process soon to be opened. And I was always looking for financial aids. Before coming here, I applied. But there are many steps on the way. And then there are many scholarships that are like only for specific nationalities or only for a specific age group. So there was always something that maybe couldn't allow me to continue, some requirement or criteria. And then with this one, I start checking all the requirements, all the frequently asked questions, and put all my faith on this, to be honest. And yeah, it really meant a lot to me, a lot, really.
Got it. So how did the process look like? When you were applying for the scholarship?
So they are very specific with the requirements. You need to have a good academic record. So you need to prove, your certificate of studies with the GPA and so on. Then they also give a lot of value to the activities that you do. So since I arrived to Poland, I was making some volunteer activities. I have been doing that for 2 years already with the Spanish community here in Warsaw. So I had to prove also, of course, and describe what was I doing, like the frequency of this. And it's something that I do every weekend for 2 years. So I think that persistence in these activities also helped me a lot during the process. And then, of course, describe this financial situation. So you, describe what is your current status. Also, the moment you are in your studies. So in my case, I was just missing the last semester to graduating. And then they also ask you to have a recommendation letter. So you need to approach to, a teacher. It has to be an employee from the university. And I approached to a teacher that she has been with me for maybe 4 different courses, I think. So she really knew how I worked and the type of a student that I was. So I am very, bad pronouncing the Polish surnames. I don't want to mispronounce it. But she's Dr. Monika. Maybe you can help me with that. Sukowierska-Stefani, do you know her?
I think I do, yeah.
Did I pronounce the name properly?
I think you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Monika, there you go. So yeah, she was the one who gave me the recommendation letter. And for me, she also helped me a lot with this. Just just by helping me with this recommendation, that it was very beautiful for me to read as well.
Did the scholarship mainly affect your studies or more of your personal life and general well-being as well?
I would say absolutely everything, every aspect, because financial difficulties really affect you in every aspect of your life, because then you're always having this little friend in your head that you need to pay this, you need to make enough of money for this, you have this deadline coming up. And this was what happened to me with the last semester. So I saved money for 3 years, working in Colombia for 3 years. Then I was looking for any economic aid or any scholarship. But as I told you, there were specific requirements. And then I was like, okay, if I won't make it, I decided to come to Poland and anyways work. So I was like, okay, I will have 1 year and a half to save enough money for this last semester. But then again, my savings were in Colombian pesos. So of course, when you make the change, Colombian economy is not doing very well. So of course, everything changes, a lot of calculations change. And also, as I mentioned before, my parents, they also have some financial difficulties. So my sister, she's also studying in Colombia, and they had to cover the studies of my sister. So that's why already being here, many of the plan B, C, and D just fall apart. And of course, well, you can imagine the anxiety, the nights without sleep. I was working a lot of extra hours. I'm a teacher, so I was working a lot of extra hours. But then again, anyways, I was studying full time. So it's like trying to compensate both activities and trying to give the best of myself in both things. So yeah, the fact of already knowing that I had how to pay this last semester, well, helped me a lot, because emotionally, it gave me such a relief. It took me like 10 pianos off my shoulders. And at the same time, it helped me to stop taking so many extra hours and focus finally on what I came for. That was my master.
Definitely sounds like a story of your own fight and resilience towards your goal.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I also heard you mentioned your volunteering work. Mm-hmm. Could you tell me a little bit more about how it started? What do you do? How is it affecting your everyday life?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's something that started in Colombia. I am a volunteer, like in all these education processes within the church. But it's not only about religious faith. It's about, your life project. It's about decision making. It's about family. It's about, like decisions in life that are aligned to your values. So I started with that already 5 years ago, maybe 6, in Colombia. And I really loved it. I think that it helped me a lot spiritually, but also personally and professionally. So when I came here, it was so hard for me to say goodbye to this community that I built already there. So I was like, well, I will try to find it here. And I did. The first weekend that I arrived here in Poland, I basically found this community and I started. And it's with all the Spanish speakers here in Warsaw. So it has been very nice because I have been sharing with people. Well, the advantage of Spanish is that so many countries speak Spanish. Therefore, I have met people from Spain, of course, from Colombia, from Peru, from Uruguay, Venezuela, Argentina, so many places. Starting to meet with them, with children. I work mostly with children, with teenagers, and with adults, mostly adults and children. And it's around those topics. So it's very nice because I also got to know way more about this expatriate experience, not only from my perspective, but also from others' perspectives, from different countries, from different backgrounds, in different age groups. And we really built a lot together, not only community, but also this guidance. In this case, of course, having faith is a very important coping strategy. But as I told you before, not limited to this, but also it means a lot when you're far away from home.
Got it. So it seems like it does have a big impact on your everyday life.
Yes.
Okay, so I also wanted to ask, how does volunteering with the Hispanic community connect with your studies?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any similarities between how it was in Colombia and now how it is for you here in Poland?
Absolutely. I think that mostly I have experienced on my own this acculturation process, acculturation stress, and this cultural competency that psychologists should have. So it has been a very different experience of my career in Colombia versus here, mostly because the psychological functioning of an expatriate really works in a very different way. So the main challenges that we face are very different to the main challenges that people in their own country face. And then also, these mood changes, what I was telling you about the seasons is also something that we all experience. So we are all like, am I the only one that feels so down today? No, yeah, definitely take some vitamin D and like these type of things that we wouldn't mention at all in Colombia. So it's very, very different. I think that this alignment to positive psychology as well, this identifying your values and then working upon your values and then redefining the purpose that you have, remembering all the time, why did you come here? What is the purpose that you have of this international experience? Because there are going to be so many days in which you are going to think about going back. Like, maybe I just need to go back home because I cannot do this anymore. Or during winter, I cannot be far away from my family, during Christmas, during special days. There are a lot of challenges, really, that only when you experience them, you can understand them a bit more. So being a psychologist also gives this plus, because then you have some practical strategies to provide as well to these people. And they also, you just practice a lot here, this counseling tools of active listening and reflecting on emotions and values. So all of those components help a lot working with Spanish communities. Also considering the language, because of course, many of them, they don't speak Spanish in their day-to-day because, at work, they might speak English or they are with Polish partners. So they also cannot talk about their emotions in Spanish. So that is also a very big plus. And is that they finally have this place where they can talk about many things that are happening inside in their language. That is, not the same to speaking another language, even though you're very fluent. But, emotions are easier to speak probably in your native language. So
you mentioned some of the migration challenges, right?
Mm-hmm.
That people might experience. From your own personal experience or other experiences of people you have worked with, can you share some more with us?
Well, I already mentioned one, that is the losing your independence. So feeling that you're so dependent, that you're so lost is very hard. So when you are, it happened to me a couple of times that you were in the bus and then suddenly something happened and they changed the stops and the bus was going to change, their way and everything goes down and they said something there and you're with your Google Maps following the path, the route, and you're like, okay, I'm safe. And then suddenly the bus just continues. So this is just a very simple example, but it's just one of many when you don't understand what is happening around you. So it's just very frustrating to feel that you're an adult, used to do many things, and that now you just don't understand how to function in many aspects. So that is very hard. Also, being far away from your family is really very, very hard, especially when you come from a culture where, we are of high context cultures where there's so much value to spending time together, to family gatherings, that basically every weekend you are having dinner with your family. Every Sunday you are going with your family to church. Like so many activities that you just change them out of the sudden. So being far away from your family, not being able to go back, because there are also a lot of expatriates that have the same situation that I have. And is that they are waiting for the residence, so they cannot leave Poland until they have the residence. So then is this frustration of Christmas, of birthday, of national days, that you cannot go back. That is also very, very difficult. And we always have some days of being homesick, of missing our food. You have no idea what we do here to get some of the ingredients, something similar to what we have, to try to make some homemade food. The music, just the vibe. Yeah, it's hard when you have these homesick days. And well, the language, it kind of contributes to the first thing that I mentioned of being independent.
Mm-hmm. So how do you manage? What do you do when you feel homesick? Do you have any kind of rituals or traditions that help you make it through the hard days?
Yeah, definitely. I use a lot of humor, to be honest. I like to watch some, comedy shows of comedians that I know from Colombia, that they always make me laugh. So I just listen to them while I'm in the tram, for instance. So it's very funny because everyone is, here you're very silent in the public transportation. So I'm just trying to laugh so that no one will notice. But I try to do that a lot. Also, meet with people that I know that experience similar challenges than I do. Mostly because, well, of course, feeling that someone really gets you, it's very important, but also they give you even more tips as well that might help you too. So there are a lot of moments in which, for example, my first winter, even my body was changing. So my nails were cracking, my hair was falling because of these temperature changes that I never experienced before. So I was like, oh my God, what is happening to me? And then when someone else came and it's like, don't worry, it's just winter and lack of vitamin D, just take these pills. You're like, oh, okay, so it's not me, it is the situation. So that is very, very important. And then, well, as I mentioned, my faith. Every Sunday, I am doing this volunteering. Then I'm also attending to this Spanish-speaking church here. And it just reminds me that I came with a purpose. I think that this is the one thing that will keep you strong, and is really remembering why you came here, what's your purpose, and just stick to this, knowing that it will be hard, but just remembering all the work you did to get here. And just, trusting the process a bit, but also knowing that this is the right place to be, at least right now.
So from what you've said, Colombia seems so warm and colorful, and Poland can feel gray, right? It can feel cold and sometimes unfriendly, I'd say. Why stay here?
Well, indeed, in terms of color... Colombia is a very, very colorful country. The culture, the energy, the vibe. But also, unfortunately, it's a country with a lot of social injustice and a lot of social inequalities. So in terms of opportunities, there are, way more opportunities here. And as I told you before, even though Poland has a lot of differences in terms of, the colors, the seasons, and even the outfit of people is very different, Polish people have been really very kind to me. They have been always willing to help. The history of Poland is admirable to me as well. The security here, it's something that I would say every country would be great if they experience, because it's really great how organized here everything is, how safe, how secure you feel. This is something that I really value a lot. And again, these opportunities. I think that for me, it was very hard to be far away from my family and feeling that maybe I was not helping them in Colombia. But then being here, I realized that I helped them more being here than being in Colombia because of the opportunities that I have. So in terms of the minimum salary, in terms of the education that I have here, in terms of the connections and the type of companies that I can reach out to, and also so many people that also need a lot of things here, just like this, support throughout this acculturation process. So that's why I think that I slowly, let's say, found this feeling of home here in Poland as well. It's funny because I guess that an immigrant person will never feel 100% at home anywhere because, well, I haven't been back to Colombia since I came to Poland. I haven't had the chance, as I told you, this residence thing. But I think that when I will go back, there are many values of Polish culture that I admire so much that I already, integrate into my repertoire, let's say. And then when I will go back, probably will be kind of, oh my God, I didn't remember this and that. And then in here, of course, there are many things that I miss from Colombia. So you kind of will never feel 100% at home. However, the life quality you can have here, the opportunities you can have here, Warsaw as a city, it's amazing to me. The amount of activities that the city organizes, the amount of cultural opportunities that you have. This is something that is very hard to find, really. And because I didn't have it before, I value it even more now that I have them here. So the fact that you can go to a free concert in Royal Łazienki, or the fact that you can go to free museums every day during the week, these little things, I really value them a lot. So yeah, I guess that right now I'm also thinking a lot about the future and about living a life that I will be able to enjoy and not just being used to surviving kind of every day. That this is a bit how most of the people in Latin America, I think that they usually get used to because of the salaries, because of the security.
Okay, so I have a question. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about Polish food?
I don't know how to answer that question. Well, there are a couple of things that I like a lot. I love zabowe. I love it. I like a lot rosu. Rosu is very nice too. Here, I learned to eat mushrooms actually, because in Colombia, I didn't like them at all. And here, I learned that there is actually more than one type of mushroom. And I really love mushrooms. And I know that is very part of your culture to go pick mushrooms around this time, I think. And it's very, very nice. So yeah, I love this mushrooms. There are a lot of things that I like. These potato pancakes, I also love them a lot. Mushroom soup. Pierogis, they're also very nice. But the sour things, you eat a lot of sour cabbage, of beetroot. With the sour things, I don't think that we will get along.
Makes sense. I'll ask you again in 5 years and see if anything changes. Right. Okay, got it. What do you miss the most, like from food type of thing from Colombia? Is there like a specific spice or a specific, I don't know, vegetable that you miss?
The fruits.
The fruits.
We have, maybe this is a fun fact. In Colombia, you can try a different fruit every single day of the year. So we really have a lot of fruits.
Wow.
And there are, a lot that in here you cannot get. Only if they come from Latin America, and of course you pay like 5 times the price of this fruit. So definitely, I would say that would be
the fruits.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Makes sense. Okay. So now I want to talk to you about something that seems to be very important to you, which is social injustice.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you?
Well, Mm, hmm. Social injustice means to me lack of opportunities, lack of resources, lack of support to grow and to be the person that you decide to be. Like, I really think that we all have free will, but definitely the lack of opportunities, the lack of resources, lack of education, lack of meeting some basic needs. I would say not block, because you can always, hear a lot of stories of people that started from very, very difficult, let's say, positions and then move forward, and they are really inspirational stories. But I really think that if better decisions would be made, if resources would be better allocated, people would really have the chance to become what they choose to be, what they want to be, and to fulfill this purpose, So, yeah, social injustice can be reflected in so many aspects, as I mentioned before, in basic needs, in education, in infrastructure, in even living in a neighborhood where you feel safe to go out to buy some milk at 5 p.m., So, yeah, that is very heartbreaking to me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Some people say that governments exist, right, to solve inequalities. So why do we even need social justice?
Well, that is a very heavy question. I want to anyways say that I'm not a politician. I am not a student of political sciences. But in my opinion, I watched a documentary once. And I always bring this quote because for me, it was just so eye-opening. It was of a politician in Singapore, and she was explaining a lot of policies that they were working on. I haven't been in Singapore. I don't know Singapore. I'm just, quoting what she said. And it was, the duty of politicians is to help people help themselves. So I really think that got me so much, because that's completely true. I mean, managing a city, managing a country requires a lot of knowledge, really. That's why politicians and governors, well, they study, just as I study psychology in order to know how to help better. Well, also you need to study economics, you need to study political science, you need to study management in order to know how to make better decisions in a short term, midterm, long term. So I think that's the key, really, of this, let's say, link between government and social injustice, and is you cannot make the decisions for the people. Everyone has their free will, and everyone should have also the freedom to choose who they want to become, who they want to be, where they want to be. But then the government's responsibility, in my humble opinion, is to help people help themselves. If maybe what will help them would be education, would be 3 meals a day, would be some proper shoes in order to walk to the school, or a bus in order not to walk for 2 hours to get to a school, because this happens in the world. This happens in Colombia. There are children that they don't have shoes and that they need to walk for 2 hours to get to the school. So they wake up at 4 a.m., leave at 5 a.m. to get to classes at 8 a.m. after a 2-hour walk without a breakfast. So how are these kids going to learn something at school? Or how are these kids going to make the most of this education that they receive? So I think that this is the key point. I don't want to talk about government or something, because I really, to be honest, I don't know that much about how it works, how decisions are made. So I don't want to talk about what I don't know. But I do want to put that quote on the table, that they should help people to help themselves.
Thank you, Catalina. That was amazing. So when did your fight for social justice start?
Well, I think that you can fight individually, really. I think that at times you think that you need to go to a village or to a foundation or to another country or another continent to fight for social justice. And I really think that you are an example of social justice in your day-to-day, just by the fact of treating absolutely everyone kindly, not just because they come from one family or from one nationality or from one city or another. I think that just the fact of being kind, of being nice, of seeing other people with compassion, with respect, I think that there is where this struggle, let's say, starts. But talking about specific situations, well, as I told you, I began to work as a volunteer in different foundations. So first I started teaching English a bit. Then I went to this foundation, also in Colombia. They provide assistance to children with neurodevelopmental disabilities. So then again, just being there, just taking care of people. Really, there's so many little things that you can do. Usually the caregivers, they are so exhausted, really. And they don't receive many times this reward for their job. So just going there, just help a bit. All of this makes a difference. So I was going there. Then I made other different, let's say, activities, but it was like one-time thing. In my university in Colombia, I won a scholarship as well. I won a scholarship there. And part of this scholarship, and I think that this is very, very nice because it's just like linking, like making a chain of favors, making a chain of help. I think that that is very nice. And they had this program in which you won the scholarship, you enter to a program, and part of the program is receiving some classes, some workshops, but also giving some help. So I was also going there. We were planting, we were helping in the crops, we were also painting some schools. It was really very nice, very, very fun. And then also, when I was in higher, let's say, semesters of my bachelor, I was also going to make some psychosocial workshops, like psychosocial rehabilitation workshops with these victims of armed conflict in Colombia. So I did my thesis about this topic in my bachelor about political participation of women victims of armed conflict in Colombia. So in there, again, just being there, making workshops. They work a lot with historical memory and collective memory. This is something very popular in Colombia because of collective psychology, communitary psychology. So I was working with this women, just attending to these workshops and being with them, building together the memory. And then I started with this group that I told you 5-6 years ago, framed in this in my church. And then I came here, and well, you already know what happened after.
Right. Wow. Could you tell me a little bit more about your work with women in Colombia?
Mm-hmm.
How that shaped you as a person and I don't know, maybe shaped your decisions later on?
Mm-hmm. I think that it could be summarized in admiration, entire admiration. The women that I worked with, they were victims, just to give a bit of context. In Colombia, we have a very painful social situation of this armed conflict. It has been a war of 60 years, maybe more, that mostly civilians have been victims, as in many conflicts worldwide. And the women that I worked with, they were mostly victims of several types of violence, of a structural violence. And this structural violence is very linked to social injustice because then again, the structural violence is basically all the responsibilities that the government should have with people. They do not meet them. So they are supposed to provide security and they're not there. The other illegal armed groups are the ones that are there. So of course, what type of security they're going to receive? They do not receive education. So what type of jobs they can have access to with what type of salaries. They do not receive good infrastructure. So then what type of public transportation they will have, how long they will have to walk to just get to a job with a specific salary that is basically going to only feed, their family, and we call it stretch the salary until the end of the month. So this is like the reality of many people and many of these victims of armed conflict. Also, these women that I worked with, some of them were, let's say, close to victims of forced displacement as well. This is unfortunately also a problem very, very strong in Colombia. And well, of course, stories of witnessing violence, of witnessing illegal armed groups, especially this forced displacement. I think that was the biggest problem that I heard of while working with them. And my work with them was mostly in understanding them, learning from their stories, because to be honest, it was in my research, and when you do such a research, you're the one that learns, really. I learned so much from them, and that's why the first word I said was admiration, because I wanted to explore this political participation and political, right now I'm translating from Spanish to English, but it's like political subjectivity, I think it's called, and how they understand, how they see themselves as political individuals and political subjects in a society that has failed them. So it's very interesting to understand how they see themselves as, strong women with a capacity of agency, capacity of making social change, starting from themselves, and capacity of overcoming unimaginable obstacles and having resilience. Example of resilience. As I told you, I grew up with examples of resilience that inspire me. So many times I just think like, if they did that, I can do whatever I want. So yeah, I hope I answered your question a bit.
You did. You definitely did. Thank you. I just wanted to ask you, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? Do you think about going back to Colombia? Do you think about staying in Poland or maybe moving somewhere else?
Well, I honestly like Poland a lot. I am learning Polish a bit, just a bit, It's a very hard language, but I'm getting there slowly. And I feel really passionate about this acculturation process right now. I finished my thesis of my master's degree in acculturation stress in parents and children, because as I told you, I work mostly with children and adults. And I feel really passionate about this topic, also because I experienced it myself. And I really think that we don't speak enough about this, about how expatriates feel once they leave their country and know what happens after. Many people think that after 6 months, you will be fine after 6 months or after 8. But actually, in my research, I found out that many people, after 3-5 years, they still experience very high levels of acculturation stress. So this just gives a lot of insights of how to work with expatriate families here. I am very passionate about working with families. So if I have the chance to stay here and to work with these families that, as I told you, value a lot having someone that speaks their language, that speaks Spanish or speaks English as well, and that understands their point of view of leaving home, living their life, and starting here from zero, I would love to do that here, because I see that there is a lot to do and many ways to help. And as I told you, from here, I have realized that I also have the chance to help my family even more. And they are most important to me as well. So,
Catalina, thank you so much for finding the time to talk to us and
thank you.
Getting us closer to your background, to Colombia, and to your future plans. And thank you for reminding us that no matter where we come from, we all have the power to create impact.
That's right. Thank you
Thanks.
so much.